Quiznos deserved to fail because they made every mistake possible.
We love these subs! 'Cause they are good to us!
Quiznos, well known for their toasted subs, ruled the sandwich market from the time of their establishment in 1981 until the middle of the 2000s. They had 4,700 locations at their peak, an incredible number even in modern times. To put their size into perspective, Jersey Mike's and Firehouse Subs today operate a combined 3,100 locations. Quiznos was very popular and were a serious competitor to Subway. Today, that is not at all the case. Quiznos will have fewer than 400 sites in 2024. They saw a 90% decline in business from 2007 to now, and this collapse is far and away the largest failure in the history of fast food. Though their current situation is depressing, it's obvious that Quiznos had a bad business plan from the beginning. Jimmy Lambatos and Todd Disner, business partners, launched the first Quiznos restaurant in Denver, Colorado in 1981. However, Jimmy and Todd got their start in business when they launched Fooders, a fine dining Italian restaurant, in 1978, before they started Quiznos. Jimmy and Todd came up with the idea to open a brand new restaurant with an entirely different concept while running Fooders. Though they aimed to construct an Italian-style deli instead of a fine dining establishment, their concept for the new restaurant was similar to that of Fooders. They developed the Quiznos cuisine and brand concept in Fooders' kitchen. They created a whole menu including submarine sandwiches, soups, salads, and a few pasta dishes using their knowledge of Italian cuisine. They created the recipes for their signature soft baguette and red wine vinegar dressing. They chose quality slices of full muscle meat such as capicola and Genoa salami in place of regular chopped and shaped meats everyone was using. Most significantly, though, they toasted the sandwich to melt the cheese and enhance the flavor of the bread and meat before adding any veggies. The concept of a toasted sandwich was an immediate hit, and customers fell in love with what at the time was a unique idea. After then, Quiznos started franchising, and that's when things started to go wrong. Jimmy and Todd, in 10 years after the first Quiznos, opened to a total of 18 locations by 1991, with an average monthly sales of roughly $27,000 per store. Everything was perfect from the outside looking in, and their future appeared promising. But beneath the surface, the company was collapsing. Even while Quiznos as a franchise grew, individual restaurants did not benefit from this growth. Additionally, the quality of the product declined at some locations. Regretfully, Jimmy and Todd lacked the resources and knowledge necessary to resolve these problems, making it impossible for them to assist existing franchisees. And Jimmy and Todd had to make the tough choice to sell the business in January 1991. They sold it to Rick Shadon, a franchisee who, along with his father Dick Shadon, already owned and ran 3 locations. Rick had been working for Quiznos for roughly 4 years at this point. Quiznos is what it is today, for better or worse, thanks to the Shadon family. The Shadons wanted progress from the beginning, which makes sense, but the problem was with how they actually achieved growth. They quickly began developing an infrastructure that would promote growth and profit over all else. They expanded their locations from 20 to 40 and boosted their yearly revenues from $7 to $8.5 million in just 2 years after purchasing the business. Jimmy and Todd took 10 years to cover 18 locations. In just 2 years, the Shadons more than doubled this amount. Inspired by their quick success, the Shadon family went public with Quiznos in 1994, generating $4.4 million for the business. The following year, in 1995, Quiznos opened their 100th store. They rose to the position of 3rd in the world among sandwich franchises by 1997, trailing only Blimpie and Subway. From this point on, they accelerated the pace at which they created new eateries, reaching an astounding 1,000 locations by the year 2000. From the outside looking in, everything appeared perfect once more, and it seemed like franchisees were doing well financially and had nothing to be upset about. However, this was about to change when Quiznos made the terrible choice to create American Food Distributors, a corporation they owned and controlled. It was mandatory for the franchisees to purchase their food and paper goods from this company. Furthermore, it was said that all of the products had markups so large that it was nearly impossible to make a profit. And the Shadons took no action to help franchisees with this issue. They took the complete opposite action. During their business journey, the Shadon family came to the realization that selling supplies to franchisees through American food distributors could yield far more profits than royalties. In peak years, American food distributors produced $200 million in revenue, while royalty revenue was approximately $70 million, according to an article by Wolf of Franchises. And all of the revenue generated by this permitted much further expansion. Because between 2002 to 2004, Quiznos ballooned from 1,700 locations to 3,300 locations. Franchise owners started to voice their concerns in the middle of the 2000s when national marketing forced them to provide low prices, even though their supply costs were higher than market rates. Franchises began suing Quiznos because they were frustrated that they were not earning enough profit. One lawsuit cites a memorandum drafted by a Quiznos lawyer in 2003 that stated 40% of Quiznos units are not breaking even, a fact that prospective franchisees say they were never told. When their franchises didn't turn a profit as expected, franchise owners felt defrauded. They believed Quiznos had exploited them. You also have stories of people like Elisa Whitehall, who say that 3 years after handing over her check for the licensing fee, she had yet to open a Quiznos in the location she bought, and Quiznos refuses to return her $25,000 licensing fee. A lawsuit filed between 2003 and 2005 claims that Quiznos offered 350 franchising licenses, but never secured locations for them, making roughly $7 million in fees. To make matters worse, Quiznos was the target of 2 deadly Subway attacks in 2005. Firstly, toasters were installed to every Subway location, and secondly, they kicked off their $5 foot-long promotion. Now Quiznos lacked a distinctive marketing strategy for its sandwiches at thousands of locations that were bleeding money. On top of this, Subway's marketing was phenomenal and Quiznos was not. Subway's mascot, Jared, may have aged terribly and sucked, but it was nonetheless a successful campaign that changed people's opinions of Subway. Subway had Jared and Quiznos had sponge monkeys, and it only gets worse from here on out. In 2006, in a leveraged buyout, Quiznos further cemented their doom when they sold 49% of the company to a private equity firm called CCM Capital Advisors. Hundreds of millions of dollars in debt were left over from this leveraged purchase, on top of all the other difficulties the company was facing. But oddly enough, their massive debt paled in comparison to what happened next. In 2007, Quiznos hit their peak of 4,700 locations. Sadly, they also reached their peak number of franchisee lawsuits in that same year. This piece by Janet Sparks sheds more light on the circumstances. Quiznos encountered a franchisee revolt so vast that it has been forced to settle following years of litigation brought by literally thousands of its franchise owner-operators. Last Friday, Judge Rebecca R. Palmier filed an order and dismissal in federal court that brings a close to the lawsuit. The deal promises to provide over $26 million to Quiznos sub-sandwich shop owners into the system as a whole. Following the lawsuits, which led to the closure of numerous franchises, Quiznos was hit by the Great Recession of 2008. The recession was, in fact, the last straw for stores that were already having trouble. Over 2,000 Quiznos locations were closed between 2008 and 2012. If you do the math, that's over 1 store closure every day for 4 years. The system they created started to deteriorate and weaken as more stores closed. Reduced store count resulted in lower franchisee revenue allocated to marketing, which in turn meant less eyes on their products. Overall, they were growing weaker each day, losing stores, losing money, losing everything. Finally, in 2014, after putting it off for as long as possible, Quiznos filed for bankruptcy on March 14, 2014. They disclosed having debts of $875 million. In actuality, 2015 was the start of the end. At this point, they had less than 700 stores open with more to close in the future. However, that same year, they launched a grill concept as part of their turnaround plan. Within a year, the turnaround strategy and the grill concept failed, causing franchisees to lose money and close more locations. After 3 years in 2018, Quiznos was bought by High Bluff Partners, a private equity firm. Quiznos is an iconic brand with room for growth, Jerry Lopez, High Bluff Operating Partners said in a statement. We are excited about the acquisition. Since High Bluff Partners purchased Quiznos 6 years ago, the only thing that has changed is that they now have about 60 fewer locations. This is the only change that has occurred. At the moment, Quiznos has 148 locations in the United States and 183 international locations. It's possible that in our lifetime we'll see this restaurant go completely extinct, and it's sad, because unlike Subway, people never complained about the quality of Quiznos food. Quiznos did not fail because customers did not enjoy the food they served. Their failure can be attributed to the fact that the individuals in charge couldn't care less about the health and well-being of their franchisees. Over time, they started to recognize and treat them as customers. They became a glorified expensive food distributor, and for that they paid the ultimate price. They're basically gone now. What do you think? Will Quiznos ever make any type of major comeback in the future? Or are they condemned to endure a gradual and agonizing extinction? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Thank you so much for watching and for the support.